Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and today I'm going to show you how to test the voltage regulator on your motorcycle. Now, I'll be using this Harley Davidson here. This is a 2019 Fat Bob, a Milwaukee 8 powered Softail, but this test is going to be basically useful for all kinds of motorcycles. Now, why would you want to test the voltage regulator? Well, it's not something you need to do as a maintenance check, but if you're having problems like the bike's not starting, it's sputtering when it's running, you may have the battery indicator light on your dash light up, your lights are dimming, your dash lights are going off or dimming. Things like that are all symptoms that you may have a possible bad regulator. Now, there are other things to consider in your charging system. You also want to make sure your stator's good and you have a good battery. And we have links to those on how to test those particular parts. I'll link those to you. But if you know you have a good stator, you know you have a good battery, there's a good chance the regulator is your problem. Now, what does it do? So your stator builds power down here, it generates power, and it puts it out in AC form. That AC power comes out of the stator on your bike, hits that voltage regulator, and is converted to DC power, and it's regulated to a certain amount, so you just don't have a ton of extra power going through your motorcycle and blowing systems out. On most Harley Davidsons, they're gonna be located right down here in the front of the motorcycle because they have fins on them, because they're air cooled. They need wind to keep them cool. This bike is pretty well easy to get to it. On some of the baggers, they're actually buried behind an oil cooler. On most of the earlier bikes, they're right up on the bottom frame rails like this, and they vary a fair amount. Although they do the same thing, the way you wire them up on an early model bike as opposed to how you just plug them in on late model ones actually has them vary quite a bit. And you can run diode tests and things like that on certain models of voltage regulators that will give you an indication of they're good or they're bad. But the little test we're gonna do here today is basically kind of a foolproof test you can do across any motorcycle to see how that voltage regulator is working. You are gonna need a multimeter and you're gonna get access to your battery. So I already have my seat off here. We're gonna get hooked up to the battery. We're gonna see if this thing's good. I got located my battery, and I have my multimeter set to voltage, and I have the common or the black lead on the ground side, and I have my red lead on my positive side. And right now, this battery is a good hot battery. It's showing 12.5 volts, which is good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start this bike up, and we're gonna rev it up a little bit, about 3,000 RPMs. Could be a two-person job. You gotta hold the leads on there, you have to start the bike, and you have to rev it up while paying attention to your multimeter there. So if you need help, get some extra hands. When we start this bike up, it'll drop just for a second on the startup, should drop to around 10 volts or so. And then as the bike starts running and making power, it's going to raise up pretty quickly. As we rev it, we should go up around 14, maybe 14.4 on the meter here. Now, this is where you have to pay attention. If you're revving the bike and it's not going up into that 14 volt range, it's staying down around 13 or even dropping, you have a problem with your voltage regulator, assuming your stator is good. Like I said, test those stators. It can also spike over. If it spikes like 15, or definitely if it goes above 15, it's not regulating that power that's coming into the electrical system of your motorcycle. So if it's not raising up, if it's staying down in the low 13s or dropping, or if it's revving up and going over 15 volts, we're gonna know we have a bad voltage regulator. Our Softail here checks out good, but if your bike is dropping in those voltage ranges to down around 13 while you're revving it up or spiking above 15, you may be in the market for a new voltage regulator. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment and go work on those motorcycles.